Good morning. It's time now for City Talk, with news and information about what's going on in our cities. With Gamma Broadcasting's news director, Tom Conklin. Guest and participant opinions are their own and not those of Gamma Broadcasting, its affiliates, or advertisers. Now, with City Talk, here's Tom Conklin.
Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to City Talk this morning. I'm your host, Tom Conklin, and today we're going to be talking about the Pittsfield Public Schools Parent-Child Home Program. And joining me in the studio, I have two guests this morning, and let me introduce them to you so we can get started here. Roseanne McDevitt. She's the Parent-Child Home Program Coordinator for Pittsfield, and also Bill Cameron. He's a former deputy school superintendent. You probably remember his name also. He is on the board of advisors for the Massachusetts Parent-Child Home Program. So good morning, folks.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you guys doing today?
Fine, thanks.
Thank you.
Good. It's a pleasure to have you. So first of all, tell me about the program a little bit, and we'll talk a lot about it as we go along. But what's it all about? Who's it served? That kind of thing.
Well, in Pittsfield, we are part of the school department. We're presently completing our 45th year with the school department. We work with children who are 2 and 3 years old and their parents. We visit them twice a week for half an hour, and we bring in free books and toys, and we model for the parents fun ways to help their child learn and get ready for school.
Mm-hmm. And this is a program that's been around for quite a while, right?
Yeah, it originated in Long Island back in the 1960s. And Pittsfield was a very early adopter, if you will, of the program. It started in the early 1970s here, and it's had strong support from the school district. It's funded primarily by Title I money, federal money. Oh, it isn't anymore. No. Sorry, I misspoke. I've been out of Pittsfield for a while. But the program has been in operation for over 40 years, 45 years, I think, in Pittsfield. And it's based on two premises. One of them is that there are children who have difficulty in school because when they start school, they don't have adequate language skills and language development to prepare them for literacy. They don't have the same scope of vocabulary, they don't recognize letters, they don't recognize colors, they don't know shapes, they don't know what narrative is, a beginning, middle, and end of a story, things like that. And so what this program does is, moving to the second premise, that the most effective teacher of a young child is the child's parent or primary caregiver. And so what Roseanne was describing is an attempt to work with the parent to develop the child's pre-literacy skills so that when the boy or girl starts kindergarten and gets into the early grades, they'll be on an equal footing with their peers.
Mm-hmm. So this is primarily for very young kids, then?
Yes. We also have a toddler program that it's called a mini program, and we'll take them on around 18 months for a 6 to 8 week program, and then they'll come back to us in the fall as a 2-year-old.
Mm-hmm. How does somebody get involved in this program? First of all, do they come to you? How can folks find out more about it?
Lots of different ways. We do a lot of outreach. We send flyers to all of the children in the Pittsfield elementary schools. Mm-hmm. We work with social service agencies like WIC, pediatrician's office. We also go to the library. We get a lot of referrals from the Pediatric Development Center for children who are under 3 that are receiving services for speech or OT, PT, that type of thing. Our biggest way that we get families is through word of mouth, because the parents tell each other this is a really great program and you need to try to get your child on it. So at one point we were about twice the size that we are right now. So we have not had much difficulty in filling places. When we lost our Title I funding, we were reduced. So, but we're still servicing about 60 children.
So it's fairly busy for you.
It's very busy.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely. And we also run play groups too, so to help the parents feel comfortable in the school setting and the children as well.
So if somebody decides that they want to contact you and get involved in this program and have you guys come in and help them out, how's the process work, and what's the first thing that happens? Do you visit the home or what?
Yes. Well, they call us, and we book a time for me to go in and talk to the parent or the caregiver, meet the child, get a little background information, and then we will usually start the program in September, but we are ongoing. We will take a family if we have openings throughout the school year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 2-year program. They come on at 2 and then again at 3. And from there they go on to the pre-K programs at Morningside and Conti Community Schools.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're reaching kindergarten, they've already had 3 years of some pretty good early childhood experiences.
Right. And this program is based where now in Pittsfield?
We are based out of Morningside Community School now.
Okay.
They've moved the program around a bit over the years, but we've been there for quite a while. It's a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Tom, one of the things I think that's notable here is that there's a lot of talk, and there has been for some time, about the importance of early childhood education in preparing kids to do well in school. But the model, there doesn't seem to be a lot of agreement, at least at the policy level in say state government or the federal government, about what model to implement.
Right.
The thing about the Parent-Child Home Program is it's not just of long standing, but it's very well researched. When I was the Title I director in Pittsfield, we did 3 independent studies very early on in the late 70s and the 80s. And I know that there has been substantial information on the effectiveness of the Parent-Child Home Program since then. That information is available on the website of the national organization. It's parent-child.org, I think, is the website. And the emphasis on getting children familiar with books and the other kinds of information or knowledge that they need in order to have a leg up when they start school. Starting so young is really important. There's center-based programs and so forth are very effective in preparing children socially for school, but this program has demonstrated cognitive benefits, higher graduation rates than their peers, for example. It's about a 30% higher graduation rate nationally for participants in this program. Lower percentage of the students who are in this wind up receiving special education services in their early grades. So it has a lot of benefits. It's not just a nice program where you give the kids toys and books. It has a clear objective, which it pretty much realizes.
Was the program, did it come about out of necessity, or was this this would be a great idea to give these kids a leg up?
You're talking about originally?
Originally, yeah.
I wasn't here when the program began in Pittsfield originally, but the program began as a kind of experimental program in Hempstead, Long Island. It recognizes that a core issue for students who sometimes are called at risk or disadvantaged, a core issue for them is language skills. It's not that they can't speak. Of course they can speak, but they frequently come to school with a far smaller vocabulary than their peers. They may not be exposed to literary materials that other kids are exposed to, and that and the involvement of the parent on a regular basis, interacting with the child verbally, asking questions, sharing stories, pointing things out, and so forth. That's really what makes it effective. So everybody's known for many years, for decades, that there are certain kids who are likely to have trouble when they get into school. And this was started as an experiment by an educational psychologist named Phyllis Levenstein. And it proved to be successful there, and it's spread to quite a number of communities, not just in Massachusetts, but throughout the United States and in some foreign countries as well.
Been around a while, since the 70s, right? So pretty good. My guests in the studio this morning, if you just happen to be tuning in, Bill Cameron and Roseanne McDevitt, and we are talking about the Pittsfield Public Schools Parent-Child Home Program. And we want to make sure that you folks know how you can find out more information. I know we'll give you a couple opportunities during the show to give folks this, but how can they find out more? what's the best way?
Roseanne can speak to the Pittsfield program, I think.
Yes, they can give us a call at Morningside. It's 448-9690, extension 23. If you have a child who is going to be 2 by September 1st of this year, 2015, we also will take some 3-year-olds on for 1 year of the program, and they, again, need to be 3 by September 1st, 2015.
Okay, and I'll make sure I have that number here in case folks need to find out.
I don't know how large your listenership is here in terms of geographical coverage, but I've worked in 3 school districts. I went from Pittsfield to Salem, Massachusetts as superintendent there, and I finished my career in Central Berkshire. In each of those districts had a parent-child home program. Central Berkshire has one because I worked with the school committee to establish one. So anybody, if you have anyone from Dalton or any of the hill towns who's listening to the program, calling the central office, calling the superintendent's office in Central Berkshire would be the way for them to follow up on having their child participate in the parent-child home program in the hill towns.
Okay.
And also in North County, they cover Adams, Cheshire, Lanesboro, North Adams, and I don't have that number with me, but they can call Child Care of the Berkshires in North Adams if they're interested in a program in that area.
Okay, good, fair enough. We'll make sure we'll have whatever information we can have here, and if people need to find out that phone number from me, I will definitely have that for them, and of course, we'll give you another opportunity to.
And the nice part about
over.
that is if we lose families, if they move, but still in the county, we can usually continue their services through one of those other programs.
What kind of staff is there? Is there a large number of folks you have, or a small number of people, or what?
Right now, we have 5 home visitors and me. At one time, it was a much larger staff, but again, budget cuts. So we've enjoyed kind of having a little challenge as far as trying to do the best with smaller amounts of everything, but it seems to be working out really well.
Well, that's good. What makes this program so effective?
My own view is that it's focusing on the right problem, and it's for students. It's not a panacea program. I don't want to suggest that, but for a great many children, it's focusing on the right problem, that is preparation for literacy, and it's doing it by using the person who's most important in the child's life, namely their parent, the primary caregiver, to basically to deliver the instruction to the child. It's the developing of that bond between the parent and the child in a learning situation that I think is what makes the program so effective. I've said this before. I've said it to every school committee that I've worked with. Schools do lots of things. Some of them work, some of them don't work so well. This is the only program I've ever been involved with where there is so much evidence that it's highly effective. Some people, I think, are confused about the conflicting research results of different preschool models. Some of them have very limited effectiveness when you study what happens once the kids get into school. When I first became Title I director, I wasn't so interested in what the kids were doing in first grade after having been in the program. I was interested in what they were doing in 8th grade or in high school, or after they graduate, or do they graduate on time, and so forth. And the answer is they do graduate on time in actually numbers comparable to what you might call middle-class students graduate. It's actually a slightly higher percentage nationally of parent-child home program participants who graduate from high school on schedule. And there are long-term savings to the public schools for having a program like this. As I mentioned, the special education costs can be lower. Far fewer students in these programs need remedial services once they get into school. They don't seem to encounter the problems with learning how to read and calculate that. And again, I'm talking in terms of large numbers of participants. They don't seem to have the problems learning to read and calculate that other kids have. So it really does have measurable benefits. it's a cost up front to a school district or whatever agency is running the program, but I think long term the payoff is obvious.
So the school district, do they have any, I don't know, I guess, say in how things go? What's their role in this whole program?
Initially, when I first became acquainted with the Parent-Child Home Program, which is when I came to Pittsfield in 1978, in Title I, there was a program, they call them replications. It's using basically the same model regardless of whether you're in Salem or Pittsfield or South Carolina. It's basically the same model the approach is the same. But it was a very loose confederation, I think, of districts and communities that had implemented the program. There's now there's a national office that sponsors this and oversees research and ensures that the programs that are being measured are actually implementing it in the same way so that the research is sound. Mm-hmm. So in Pittsfield, in my experience, Roseanne can speak with more currently. It's about 8 years since I worked in Pittsfield. Mm-hmm. But Pittsfield, through Title I and also through local funds, supported the program. There is some grant money available through the Commonwealth in some communities mm-hmm. for this, but by and large it's supported either with grants or with local school funds or agency funds. When you get into Child Care of the Berkshires, for example, they're not a school district, but they do apply for grants to support it. And Central Berkshire, the school committee, was working with Child Care of the Berkshires and was basically funding the program in the 7 communities in Central Berkshire.
You mentioned earlier about you were talking about the federal funding, which you had at one point, right? And it's not funded through that anymore. What about the state? Does money come from the state? Do you have to wait to find out what the budget's going to bring here? Yeah,
Roseanne's probably more current on that than I am.
That is almost the same story every year. Now we have a new governor, so once again it's back for debate, but I think that I think we're going to be level funded this mm-hmm. year, hopefully. Okay. But it's not enough to run a very big program that the state provides. They did at one point have over 40 programs they were supporting in the state of Massachusetts, mm-hmm. but like everything else, it's fallen to the axe.
Yeah.
I should note also that the United Way in Berkshire County provides support for early literacy, and some United Way funding goes into parent-child home programs in the mm-hmm. county as well. It's certainly a welcome revenue stream for those programs.
Yeah, good agency,
mm-hmm.
that's for sure.
Very
they
good
help
agency.
A lot of folks.
Yeah.
So, by the way, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the Pittsfield Public Schools Parent-Child Home Program, and my guests in the studio are Roseanne McDevitt and also Bill Cameron, and we're talking about all the different aspects of this morning. For families that, there may be some families that don't speak English very well, or maybe don't speak English at all. What are the how is this program equipped for that?
We encountered that, and Roseanne has more practical experience in the homes. But if I could just lead off answering that, we encountered that as a significant population to work with when I was in Salem. There's a substantial percentage of the children in the city don't speak English as their first language, and this program was very effective in working with those families, although you do need somebody who's fluent in the language spoken at home in order for that to be successful.
Mm-hmm. And that can be an issue. We deal with families from all over the world, so if you have a Spanish-speaking home visitor, great, but then you need someone who speaks Russian and various dialects from India.
Yeah.
So we unfortunately don't have any bilingual home visitors, but we do get materials translated into the language. It's their first language, and we get that help through the administration center at Mercer. Mm-hmm. It's a challenge, but they are picking up the English by about halfway through the year.
Sure.
And so are the parents, which is helpful.
One of the things that's interesting about this program, and it's not just the local replication of it, but the but I think it's true everywhere that it's been implemented, is that many of the people who do the home visitations are themselves parents who participated in the program previously when their children were small. And so you get people who have both a working interest in the program as home visitors, but also they have a great familiarity with it because they've actually implemented it over a 2-year period with their own child. And I think with regard to the issue that Roseanne was talking about with difficulty in recruiting people to visit the homes who are speaking a language other than English, that's likely to become less of a problem, I think, as more parents participate who are not native English speakers, and as they develop a facility in English, they can transfer that to they can interact in the native language with other people eventually. But it's a long-term project, I think.
It is, and many of the programs do, like the program down in Ludlow. They have a high-speaking Portuguese speaking population, and so probably from the same source that Bill was just talking about, that they've gotten parents who have come through the program. They get trained and they go to work for the program.
Sure. Are there any particular stories of folks that you've helped with, of course, without using names, of course, that you feel like you'd want to tell us about?
Well, I know that, and I don't want to use names, but there are people who are in administrative positions in the school system who began as a child participant when they were very, very young. We've had people who had exceptional careers in higher education, graduates of very prestigious colleges, and again, I don't want everybody to think that, or anybody to think that this is a cure-all.
Right.
A lot of families face a lot of issues other than simply the literacy preparedness, but because I think this program has that sort of clear focus, I think that it's able to be more successful than some other models because it's really interested in one thing. Sure, the people and the supervisors, the home visitors and the supervisors provide help to families if they don't know what to do and they're encountering a problem. But everybody involved in it knows why they're there. They're there to provide these materials, these verbal interaction stimulus books and toys and so forth. They're there to help the child develop verbal facility and letter recognition, vocabulary, and so forth. And Roseanne may be able to give you some much more specific examples than
because I'm now finishing my 23rd year with this program. So
congratulations on that.
We're kind of on to some of our second generation. I interviewed a mother last year who I realized as soon as I got there I had been her home visitor when she was 2.
Wow.
So, but it's nice to see we are a family. We do become a family. And I ran into a mom recently whose twins that were on the program are now seniors in college, and they have done extraordinarily well. There's lots of those kind of success stories.
That's great. Well, these programs are certainly a benefit to communities everywhere. And actually, this is a program that goes across the state, but also the country, too, right?
That's correct. Roseanne probably has a better idea of of what states and communities and so forth it's in. I know that it's in not only in the United States, though, but some overseas sites as well.
The Netherlands and Canada is in the last maybe 5 or 6 years. Also, we had a coordinator from the Springfield area, Fitchburg, I think, was from Ireland. She moved back there and she started a program.
Oh, wow.
So it is expanding.
Very good. Very good. That's good to hear. So it's been, let me see, it started, 1970, what were we saying?
In Pittsfield.
In Pittsfield in 1970.
In 1965 in New York.
Oh, okay.
They're celebrating their 50th anniversary.
So is the New York program pretty similar in the way it works? As far as you know?
All of the programs, if they're affiliated with the Parent-Child Home program, they pretty much run the same way. There are some, I think they're minor variations. used to be that they were all the programs always the visitors always went to homes during the day. I think sometimes now there may be early evening visits or weekend visits. It used to be in the old days, it was called the mother-child home program, but there are a lot of single-parent families, or it may be that the father is the primary caregiver during the day, and so it would be the father rather than the mother. So it really does involve both parents,
Sure.
and if the child is not living with his or her parents, it would be whoever the primary caregiver is for the child, whom the program staff would work with.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and we also, Pittsfield piloted this about maybe 10 years ago. We visit family child cares as well.
Okay.
For the children who are not at home with their parents, and we work with the daycare provider.
For folks, once again, before, as we're running out of time here, if someone thinks that their child can benefit from this program, the Pittsfield Public Schools Parent-Child Home Program, how can they find out more?
Call us at Morningside School at 448-9690, extension 23.
Okay. Anything left to add, Bill?
No, I think you've done an excellent job here, Tom, covering this. It's I just want to say I've always been proud of being associated with it. I wasn't familiar with it when I came to Pittsfield, and I think it's something that's highly effective, and people need to know about it so that it can be continued and expanded.
Good. Well, I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing. It's important.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. My guests on the program this morning have been Bill Cameron and Roseanne McDevitt. And thank you guys, Pittsfield Public Schools Parent-Child Home Program. And we'll keep the phone number on hand here for anybody that needs more information. That's going to do it for City Talk this week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Take care. Bye.
You've been listening to City Talk with news and information about our cities with Gamma Broadcasting's news director Tom Conklin. Guest and participants' opinions are their own and not necessarily those of Gamma Broadcasting, its affiliates, or advertisers. Listen Friday mornings at 11:30 on AM 1420 WBEC for City Talk.